Welcome back to Extreme Voltage. My name is D. Melkonian, and we're talking Chargers football, preseason game 1 versus the Rams in the book. We're going to debrief that a little bit today. We're going to continue talking about our roster construction. Yours truly had a chance to visit the Chargers training camp this week against the Dallas Cowboys. That was a heck of a day. Talk about some of the players I saw, what I thought, and we'll keep doing the roster construction. I got a little better idea of what we're looking at for this 53-man roster. A couple of names I want to send out your way to keep an eye on for week 2, which is coming up tomorrow against the Dallas Cowboys. So good stuff to talk about this week. I'm hoping you guys had a chance to review our podcast last week, talking about some of the draft picks we had and looking over the 2018 draft and the grade that we have given it. If you haven't done so, we've got a number of episodes. Please go back and take a listen. Otherwise, welcome aboard. Here's what we got going on. Week 1 versus the Rams. I should say preseason game number 1 versus the Rams. I was excited about this game. It's our first ever show of the Chargers, right, this season, and what our depth looks like. You know, I wasn't expecting any starters to play. I'm very glad they weren't. Got to keep those guys healthy. And look, I love Brandon Staley for a number of things. You know, certain coaches do certain things. One of the biggest reasons I love Staley is because he doesn't play his starters in the preseason. I absolutely love that. Do not play your starters. Look what happened to the Jets last week, right? With Zach Wilson going down with a meniscus tear. Luckily, it's not a severe injury, and I say that even though that would be scary for anybody to have, especially your quarterback. But it looks like it's promising. 4 to 6 weeks potentially. Game 1, week 1 starter for him. That's great for the Jets. But you have enough problems at training camp to begin with. Unfortunately, let's not add any more hazard to it. Preseason games, guys, I got to tell you, I don't care. I love Staley's approach. If you've read and heard what Staley's philosophy is, I absolutely subscribe to 100%. This is what I would do if I'm coaching, okay? You don't play your guys in the preseason. And not just that, the way they use the guys in training camp, you got to get, if you haven't had a chance to go out to training camp, please do so, because it's a quick 2 hours, man. It just zooms on by. But you get such a great perspective on how the NFL does their programming, and especially for the Chargers, right? Because I'm only seeing one training camp. Unfortunately, I don't get a chance to visit different training camps throughout the off season here, which hopefully in the future we'll be doing so. But for now, just seeing what I'm seeing from the Chargers, I love the approach. They play a high octane scrimmage throughout the training camps, right? But really careful, not trying to bring anybody to the ground, more thumps in regards to stopping the run, and obviously, passing game, receivers will go down because there's momentum is carrying them when they're catching these passes, but there is no live hitting per se. No, I should say no live tackling, right? Compared to live hitting, yes, there is thumping where the linebacker or the D-line is going to make that contact with that running back and do make that stop, but they're stopping, they're wrapping, but they're not bringing down to the ground. And I think they do a great job of that, and at least with this organization, what I've seen, and they try to make it a live game scenario as much as you can without putting your thoroughbreds, your athletes, your stars in any line of fire. Obviously, ACLs and Achilles and all these things can go down on you even without contact, right? We've seen that before in the field. Derwin James, I believe, had that issue, right? We had no contact going on, and back in the day, a couple of years back when he had that severe knee injury and the foot injury and so forth. So those things can happen. But it's just a chance of what would occur. But in regards to keeping your guys safe without getting hit and rolled upon, that's key, and that's big. And knock on wood, they're doing a good job with that, and I do appreciate it. They know that these preseason games, look, if I'm a GM, if I'm a head coach, if I'm a positional coach, man, these preseason games are golden to see what your depth looks like. To see if, I don't care about the first rounder. Zion is a great player, right? I'm not worried about Zion Johnson in the preseason. I do want to see him, and I'm glad he was out there for a series or two. And it's great to see that, and he played well. I'm not worried about the first rounder. I'm not worried about the second rounder. I am worried about the third rounder, JT Woods. We'll talk about that a little bit. Not that impressed yet. I am worried about my fourth and fifth and sixth and so forth. I want to see how these guys are going to play. Right, I want to see the year one of the system. Again, very short amount of time at training camp, obviously. What have they gotten so far from it? This is what you're looking at. So, you guys are very knowledgeable football fans. That's why you listen to shows like this. You know the game. Other people that look at preseason, look at the scores, and look at who's winning and losing, that's laughable. That is super laughable. If you're bragging about your team won in preseason, that's a joke, and you don't know football. You don't know football. And some other guys you might hear and say, oh, well, I don't watch the preseason. It means nothing. Well, hold on. I'm not worried about watching preseason for wins and losses. I'm watching the preseason to see what my players look like, what my depth looks like, what my rookies look like, my second-year guys look like. I want to see how that's going. I want to see the energy on the team too, because regardless of who's playing out there, you will see the culture. There is a cultural identification at times that you can still observe during preseason games. I'm not trying to get too hypothetical on this and philosophical on this, but I'm just trying to tell you that there is a cultural, and what do I mean by that? I mean how a defense can play, right? You can see a second and third string defense playing balls out and just laying the lumber and looking strong. And that could be consistent to what the season's going to be like. Case in point, what the Seattle Seahawks looked like in the preseason years ago before the Legion of Doom started, right? How the Chicago Bears, even this year, are looking like right now with their defense. I mean, there's a certain aspect of a team's culture that will be reflected on the field, no matter if it's a preseason or a regular season game. Again, take it to heart what the scoring is about, what the offensive plays are, and so forth. You're not looking at the play calling as much. You're looking at how these guys are working together, how disciplined they are, the lack of penalties, lack of misjudging certain plays and being in the right places and so forth. These are crucial, and this is what makes a team. So going back to it, I thought it was a really fun game one for the preseason. I thought we saw a lot of exciting football, quite honestly. Some big plays, even on the Rams side. We'll talk about that really broken coverage between Leonard and J.T. Woods that resulted in, I believe, a 65-yard touchdown from McCutcheon. So that was big. And these are the things you got to talk about sometimes and identify it. And there might be sore spots, but there's a lot of positives I took out of that game. Let's talk about those. Zion Johnson, Boston College. Man, I tell you, Zion's the real deal, and it's fun seeing him. He looks solid. Again, I'm going to talk about both versions of what I saw. I saw the preseason game, as minimal as I saw that. I liked the way he looked out there as a right guard. Then I was able to observe him this week against the Cowboys in the drills, and he looks really, really good. I like the way he plays. He plays like a young veteran, and that's what you want. You want to see like a young veteran out there, and that's what he looks like to me. So he's not the end deal. Just like Rashawn Slater isn't the end deal. He's still going to improve his game, even though he's an incredible, incredible player. But that's what you want to see. You want to see guys that are entering their first year, their rookie year, but don't have that rookie mindset. They have a stronger, youthful, young veteran mindset that they've taken the job. They've been given the job as a starter, right? And they don't take it for granted. It's something that they're going to grab and work on and become better at their craft and to prove their worth that they're there. And that's what these guys really resemble for me when I watch them. I think they're more guys like, hey, look, they're not just saying, hey, I got the job, I'm just going to ride with it and get paid and do my job. No, I'm going to get in there. I got a great opportunity. I got drafted early, or I should say very high in the draft, and I got to prove my worth here every single day. I'm here. I'm going to be a team leader. Even, when I say team leader, look, when you're a starter and your actions speak louder than words, you're a team leader. Okay, and that's what these guys are coming out to be. This offensive line, man, a couple of years ago, even last year, right? We're worried about how bad they were at times. Look how strong they've gotten the last 2 years. I remember 2020. This was a really, really, really problematic spot for us with the offensive line. And look at 2022 right now, how strong this offensive line group looks. And, with the exception of, and I don't even say the exception of the right side. I mean, I think, look, Pipkins and Storm Norton, right? Let's go back to those guys for a little bit. Trey Pipkins in his fourth year, Storm Norton as a free agent pickup a couple years ago. They've improved. Brandon Staley said so, right? Let's listen up to Brandon Staley because he's going to tell you. They've improved, and he was hard on them last year. I remember preseason last year how terrible they both looked. They were horrendous. And he spotted it. He said, hey, are those guys have to get better. He put him on the spot. He said, those guys have to get better. And look, as a grown adult man, you better take your constructive criticism. Either he's telling you get better and become a strong positional player on this team, or you're going to be cut. You're going to be buying a ticket to the game. You're a big man that's going to come to the game and sitting on the stands and watching it. So it's your choice. And, sometimes talent can take you so far, but your work ethic and your ability to become better than what you are is a potential you can strive for. And it looks like for both of them, I was watching a training camp this week. I'm watching a little bit of tape that I've seen. Again, I told you in the earlier podcast, Trey Pipkins last year, coming in those 2 games, I believe it was the Chiefs game, which I thought he did a phenomenal job for Rashawn's spot and left tackle when Rashawn was out of COVID-19. And then conversely for the Denver Broncos game, I guess he was in as well, and he looked solid in both those games. He looked really strong. Storm as well. I think Storm is a big guy. You really can't, until you see it live, a very big man. So that's why when you have big athletes like this that have the potential and have the work desire, they're not lazy. They're there working. Again, Staley was talking about it, as I stated earlier. He said how both these players have improved substantially and significantly from last year. That's a great sign. That's what you want to see. Look, your O-line isn't going to be perfect, man. I don't care what team you are. Go ahead and check out every single team out there. Look at the grades on these teams, or just watch them. Okay, forget the Pro Football Focus grades. Watch the O-line. See the weaknesses at times. It's going to happen. Even your all-stars, your all-pros are going to have some problems some days, okay? Depending on what package you're looking at, what fronts, what stunts. It's going to occur. Not every team is going to have a 5-man rotation of superstar or high caliber. You're going to have those problem spots at times. It's how well you can hide them. It's how well the weakest player on your line, how well can they withstand the defensive front line. That's the key. And if you're able to hide those, if you're able to help those with running backs and tight ends to chip away, with timings on these plays to make it work. If you need a 5-step drop and a longer time process for Herbert to make these deep throws, then you got to make some kind of adjustments on that right side potentially at times just to make it safe. Even on the left side, if you've got to protect, you got this monster coming out of your left side and it's only Rashawn Slater, well, guess what? You might need a tight end on that side or a running back to chip. So these are things that good coaches, good O-line coaches, man, this is it. Head coaches, get called out for the positives and negatives at all times. I tell you, it's part of the game for them. But these positional coaches are worth their money in gold because they're the ones that are working with these guys on a day-to-day basis. So we're fortunate to have some good coaching on this staff, and I think, well, at least I'm very excited and eager to see how the preseason games look like. I really focus on that O-line and D-line. Those trenches are so important, and the Chargers know that. That's why they upgraded their D-line so much. Look, the O-line was a draft pick again, a number 1 draft pick once again, back-to-back years on the O-line, right, with Slater and Johnson. That's knowing a position of need and how important that investment is. Looking at the D-line, look what they've done. They were not able to get high draft picks, right? They got the UCLA kid later in the draft on a day 3 situation, but they went ahead and they spent money. Right? They spent good money. There's bad money and good money. Bad money is spending some crazy amount on a second-tier free agent. Some crazy amount just because you got to plug up a hole. Does that happen sometimes? Absolutely. Is it a good situation? No, it's not. And that's actually a bad, right? You're spending way too much money on a guy that might not deliver to you. Have the Chargers had that issue in the past? Absolutely, we've had. All right, absolutely. Russell Okung came in, had some problems on that side. Other players have come in that had, higher named values and just couldn't really deliver. They were a little too old. These things can occur, right? These things will happen. But when you get guys like Sebastian Day and you bring in Austin Johnson, these guys that are still young enough and they're in their middle years of football, their career years, they're still in their youthful years, and you bring them in, and they're really changed this this team. It's really easy to see. At training camp this week, when I had a chance to watch them, that D line up front is aggressive, and they were doing a great job stacking up on that run. I love it. I like what they're seeing a lot. These guys are having the A and B and C gaps. They're a lot more difficult to go run through those A and B gaps this year than what I've seen in the past. And I think we're going to have some good run stoppers in there, and that's what they need. The pass rush is there, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But those run stoppers are looking great, and just observing that was fun to see. Okay, some of the highlights that I saw from the Week 1 preseason Game 1 versus the Rams. We just talked about Zion Johnson. I thought he did a really good job going there. The limited time that he had looked really promising, looked strong. This is the big one for me. A couple players really stood out. Josh Kelly. I've been reading about Josh Kelly in the preseason here and training camp. I hadn't had a chance to see him until this week, as I was mentioning. And I was reading about how much he gained about, 10 to 12 pounds of muscle. And I love Josh Kelly coming out, by the way. I'm a big UCLA fan, and I really enjoyed Josh Kelly. I thought it was going to be a strong back in the NFL. I was glad the Chargers grabbed him, but I was disappointed, and I have been so the last couple of years. Initially they had given him that opportunity back in 2020, I believe, to kind of get a stronghold on the team, and it seemed like he was flirting with that to get those kind of carries along with Austin, and it just kind of went away. I think he had a fumble. His running style seemed a little bit off to me. It didn't seem very, very strong at times. It seemed like after the first hit or so, he was kind of going down and didn't. At times, he gave us a little bit of a wiggle to it, but it just didn't seem like the kind of running I was seeing at UCLA was dominating. And of course, it changes between college and NFL type caliber defenders. I get that. But I really thought he had that opportunity and that potential to be a kind of a back that could be strong in the NFL and have some production. Last year, very limited in rushing, and I thought it was not that positive in regards to his role on the team. And looking at production for Josh Kelly back in 2021, it was pretty disheartening. Only playing in 10 games, right? He had 33 attempts rushing for just 102 yards. That's a 3.1 average only. That's pretty low. In receptions, for the whole year, he was targeted 6 times, 5 receptions for 38 yards. So, and of course, he had a fumble in there as well. So this is the stuff that I'm looking at and saying, okay, not enough. 33 rushing attempts for the whole year. I'm looking at that and I just can't believe that's all we had on that. That's low. That's extremely low. So coming in this year, I was expecting, okay, make or break. They got Isaiah Spiller. You definitely know they want to roll with Spiller as the number 2, right? Or at least the other side of Austin Eckler, right? Because we talked about this. Eckler cannot be that running back. I don't care if you draft him the first in your fantasy like I do. He's a great, great player with the ball in his hands, and he needs to have the ball in his hands. We're talking about 17 games here. You cannot put the ball 20 times, 25 times in this man's hands for 17 games and expect a strong playoff return for you. It will not happen. You will break him. I don't care what the pound for pound is. I don't care how strong he is. I know he's one of the strongest guys, if not the strongest guy on the team. I'm not questioning any of that. He will tell you up front, which he's already done, I need somebody else to carry the load. And you know what? That's a very mature and very realistic version of what this is. The picture is, if you get a guy like this at his weight, at his height, and beat him up on the A and B gaps running all day long, look at Christian McCaffrey, right? Look what the Panthers have done to him. Again, I'm not a coach, and I apologize if this comes off wrong, but you're beating him up. And because of that, look how much injury issues you're going to have because of him. Look, you're not going to take your Porsche out every day and drive 7 days a week back and forth. You're not going to take your Porsche out and start going off-roading. You're not going to take your Maserati and go on a hill climb with rocks and boulders everywhere. You're going to take it on the nice open road, maybe once or twice a week, 3 times a week, open it up and just enjoy the day. You get a nice car wash and open it up. No. So you got to be careful on how you use these players, right? Yeah, you signed him. Yes, he's on your team. Yes, he needs carries and touches and touchdowns. I get all that. You can be very creative with the way you're going to give him the ball. He's very much a Marshall Faulk to me. He's a very strong kid. I'm talking about Austin Eckler. But he even said it. I need a number 2 with me. I need a Melvin. He didn't say it, but I'll tell you. He needs a Melvin Gordon on this team, right? What Melvin Gordon gave us a couple of years back. He was the bread and butter back, right? That's the guy you give the ball on 3rd and 2. That's the guy I'm looking at it at 2nd and 10. I want him getting the tough yards. Can Austin do it? Sure he can. Do I want him to do it all the time? Absolutely not. So looking back, Isaiah Spiller has been drafted to be the number 2. 4th round draft pick, let's just call it straight to what it is. drafted to be the number 2. Well, guess who didn't get the memo? Guess what number 25 Josh Kelly said? Well, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you. He said, hell no, it's not going to happen on my watch, right? Of course, he didn't say that in real life anywhere, but I'm telling you right now, Josh Kelly, the man, the player, he's saying, no, that's not happening for me. So what does he do in the offseason? He goes out there and he becomes better. He improves his strength and he improves his game. And I saw it game 1. The running that he did, the way he was running downhill. First of all, just looking at him physically, the man is built. Okay, that man is built, and he looks strong. Just built very well. I didn't see any fat like that on him. The kid looks strong, and he ran strong. I think it's the best I've ever seen him. The runs that he had, the fluidity, the strength. Josh Kelly is just a great downhill runner, very fluid, soft hands, made some nice catches as well. I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to get the second job. And I'm not worried about it. Isaiah can end up getting it this year, which was absolutely great, fantastic. But I'm going to tell you, I'm predicting Josh Kelly is going to grab onto the second spot. This does not mean we're not going to see Isaiah Spiller. Of course we are, and that's great. Let's add the stable to the backs. Let's get it going. But we're going to see, I'm predicting Josh Kelly is going to take that number 2 spot right after Austin here, and he's going to really be an impactful player this year. I'm excited about it. He's got all the tools, and he's running super hard. He stays injury-free, man. He's going to be the number 2. And, of course, we'll see Spill. And we should, and that'll be great change of pace as well. But this is what I'm looking at. And then I think wrapping it up, I think Roundtree, good back, but he clearly is a 4th back to me right now. Does that mean he stays on the team? I don't know. I really don't know because I have the fullbacks to consider as well. I have Xander Horvath, which absolutely looks great right now. I like his running ability, his blocking ability, outside of reception in the game. I thought he has really smooth hands. I love his gameplay. Of course, we have number 40, Gabe Neighbors, our last year's fullback. I think it's his 3rd year now with us. Very similar size on both, and I think he's a phenomenal blocker. Gabe is a phenomenal blocker. I think he's an adequate receiver as well. I just think when this thing breaks down, you're only going to keep one, right, for fullback. I think Xander is going to get it based on his. I think based on his better route running and receiving skills over Gabe Neighbors, and that's the only difference because I think Gabe is definitely an NFL fullback and he's solid. But looking back, I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go with Austin, Josh Kelly, and Isaiah Spiller, and I'm going to go with Xander right now. That's 4 running backs on this team. I don't want to go 5. And the reason I don't want to go 5 and carry Roundtree is because I'm going to transition right now to it. The wide receivers on this team. Man, I'm excited about these receivers. Man, I am super excited about these receivers. And I want to keep 7. I know it's not realistic and it's not going to probably happen, but I need to keep 7. I don't know how it's going to get done. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about. I'm not going to waste your time right now on Keenan Allen, right? Miss number 13, the Slayer. I'm not going to. He is amazing, and it was just so much fun watching him in person just yesterday. That was cool to see at training camp. Solid, smooth, and he's a team leader. I love that guy. By example, Mike Williams, man, he is just a thoroughbred out there. He is just a beast out there. Great personality. The guy is a game day player. I love him. I'm so glad we kept him for the next 3 years at $20 million. He's a happy millionaire out there. Just stay healthy and keep going up for those balls and do your thing, man. And I'm telling you, dominant receiver. I think what we've seen in the past, we talked about it on the podcast before, they were using other coaches, other offensive coordinators were using Mike mainly as go deep, get up there, jump that ball, and you'll have a 70% chance of catching it, right? That's great. He comes down, gets hurt sometimes. That's part of the game, right? Unfortunately. But now, let's be smarter. And guess what? Brandon Staley is that. He's smarter, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, sorry, he's smarter than your average coach. That's why I think he's going to have such success. With all the turmoil last year for the fourth down calls, this guy is the smarter coach, okay, in the room. He's giving, and you saw it early in the year last year, Mike Williams was getting those slants. We're getting the much different route running than what we've seen from him in the past. It's not just a go deep guy, okay? He's not that guy only. He is a player with that body, with the massive body he has, with that speed he has. He can make so much work for you inside. He's a one-on-one nightmare for you. And I don't care if you're going to double up a receiver on him. His size, his girth, his playmaking ability is such that you need to utilize him in that manner. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I'm excited about number 81, Mike Williams. 6'4", 218, call it a 220 easy. This guy is a dominating player, and he should be running all the route trees, okay? Not just one or two, not just a fly. But I'm talking every single thing out there, just easy slants and outs and goes. I think you're going to see a really dominating, if you're a fantasy football guy like I am, Mike Williams is big this year. And I think Herbert has been connecting with him and will continue to do so. So that's number 2 on your list, right? So you've got Keenan Allen, you got Mike Williams, 1 and 2. Okay, at number 3, and look, this is what it's all been anticipated. Josh Palmer, right? Joshua Palmer as your number 3, which is great. Haven't seen the plays yet with Josh Palmer as much, right? I'm looking forward to it, and I think training camp-wise we saw some really good stuff, but this is the year to see some more. And I think Palmer is definitely going to be the guy going to number 3 this year. But right on his heels is Jalen Guyton. I think Jalen, we can't forget about number 15. I think 15 has done a really, really good job the last couple of years. And 6'1", 212, he's a flyer, man, and he has really, really smooth hands. So I got to tell you, Guyton and Palmer, to me, really are the 3A and 3B. I don't want to even call them 3 and 4 because I think they're really close. And some people like to, hit upon Palmer being the guy, and that's fine. He looks great out there. But I can see both of them doing really well as the number 3 and 4. So let's call those guys 3 and 4, right? Without any argument, we're good to go on that. The number 5, DeAndre Carter. This is what we're thinking the number 5 spot's going to go to, which is fine. He's a return man, playing really well. I didn't see him in the preseason. He wasn't dressed, I believe, but he did really, really well in training camp, and he looks very solid. So he's been rolling really well with it, and I think he's going to grab that number 5 spot based on the money that was provided to him and what they expect out of him as a return man. So DeAndre Carter has that sewn in as the 5. So now, usually we end the conversation there and we move on, but this is really, really important. This is a make or break. I got to tell you, it really is, because I don't like to lose good players from this team. And I think this player is going to be somebody that needs to be kept. And there actually is 2 players here that need to be kept, but it's going to be tough because I don't think they're going to go to 7. But your decision here is going to, or your coaching staff decision is between number 83, Michael Bandy from the University of San Diego, and of course Joe Reed, who was drafted a couple of years ago, I believe the number 5 fifth round draft pick. And Joe Reed is looking really, really good, and we talked about him earlier in the podcast as well. I told you before, Joe Reed, and again, I'm not telling you he's Deebo Samuel, but coming out of the draft, that's what he was compared to before Deebo Samuel was Deebo Samuel. Similar structure, 6 feet, 225 pounds, receiver, yet can run out of the backfield. So you've got that kind of player, and he's your kickoff return, punt return as well. And you saw that in the preseason doing the kickoffs. Phenomenal athlete, and he had the 41-yard touchdown grab from Chase Daniel early in the first quarter. The kid's an athlete, and I really don't want to lose him. I think he's phenomenal. He's going to be a great cadre on this receiving staff. But I got to tell you, Michael Bandy, man. Michael Bandy, the route runner, the speed that he has, the soft hands. I tell you, there's so many players I can compare him with. He's got a hands like Cooper Kupp to me. He's got great route running, and I just love the way he plays. He's a great slot, and I think he'll do a lot of good work. I don't want to lose this kid, and I love his demeanor. I love the way he's on the sidelines with the team. He's a team player, just a phenomenal player, man. I think he has character, everything that. I don't want to lose this guy. I think he's going to do a lot of damage as a Charger. I think he could do some great work. Needs to be kept. We had a kid named Wes Welker once back in the day. Do you guys remember him? Absolutely you do. Went to Miami. From there he went to New England. We had him on the Charger staff with Marty Schottenheimer. I did not want to lose him. And unfortunately he was cut after a game or two. And that was not a good cut. And you saw what happened after that. I'm not telling you he's Wes Welker. I'm not telling you he's Cooper Kupp. I'm telling you what I'm seeing and how he plays. Love his ball ability, and I think he needs to be kept, because you can't just say I'm going to cut him and put him on the practice squad. Guess what's going to happen? The New York Jets, Jaguars, the Raiders, the Denver Broncos, somebody's going to come up and say, you know what? No, this kid's way too good. I'm going to go ahead and sign him off your practice squad, and he'll immediately be left. There's no protection. You guys know that. I don't want to leave him up to the practice squad. And Joe Reed, I don't want to lose him either, man. It's going to be tough. I don't think they're going to be able to carry 7. I really don't. But if you want to cut back one of the running backs for me and leave some other younger kids, or even Roundtree in the practice squad, do that, because I don't think he's going to make the impact like we have going on. And those receivers have to stay on. Herbert has so many weapons. It looks pretty fantastic. So that's what I'm looking at for the receiving end, and that's what I saw during the game with Josh Kelly and Mike Bandy and Joe Reed. I really enjoyed watching them. That was some good stuff. Hey, Rumpf, let's talk about that. Let's go to defensive side for a second. Remember this kid? 4th-round draft pick last year? Kept saying how what a skinny kid he was. The criticism on her was he wasn't ready. And yeah, you're right. The criticism was right. Chris Rumpf wasn't ready last year. He's 6'2", about 245, gained about 10, 15 pounds over the summer, and looking strong. A lot of impactful plays in the preseason opener. Training camp wise, consistently problematic for these offenses. Getting a really good pass rush going to him. Nice run stopper as well. In the game, he had a sack, beat the left tackle for a nice sack. Also, as a TFL, he got the running back there. Tight end was trying to cover him, and he took it back there, and he got the TFL on that running back. So he's consistent. He's looking really strong, and I'm liking it. That's the backup for Joey, right? For Bosa. So I like what I'm seeing a lot there. So that's good stuff. Another player I like a lot is Jamal Davis, number 44, and he's the gentleman that we got. He's a veteran, and he was on for a little bit, and he went ahead and went to Canada last year, and he played Canadian Football League. Jamal Davis, 6'4", 252 out of Akron, 27 years old. I like him. First of all, he's built like a brick house, man. He's ready to go. He looks all that of an NFL player, seeing him live. And in the game, it was okay. He had a pretty good pass rush going. He tried to have a containment on the Rams, Perkins, I believe, the quarterback for the Rams. That's such a great runner as well. He got juked out a little bit on one of the plays. He was trying to do a containment on him, and Perkins made him look a little foolish and made him slip and slide, and he took a nice little run out of it. But I like Jamal Davis. I think he's going to be solid. He looked good against the Dallas Cowboys in the scrimmage. He had a couple sacks here and there. I thought he was looking really good, and I think he's going to be a good addition to this team, that he's going to make this club. So Jamal Davis, free agent, I think and him and Rumpf, I think, will be there taking care of business in regards to backing up Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Because Kyle Van Noy, in that regards, he is really playing your linebacker spot more. I saw him playing that outside backer and inside backer a lot more. I think they want to use Kyle that way, and not necessarily just as a pass rusher. So I think that's good. I think I like him back there in space, and I think he has some really good smarts on him, 6'3", 250. He's 31 years old, but and he's not going to be playing every single play for you, I don't think, either. So you got to give him some time away, and you got to give him some blows during the game, because he needs to be out there fresh for you. At 31, you got to make sure you're taking care of your players. That includes the same with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. You can't have these guys. You guys have to have them on a pinch count. You got to have them on a pitch count, because that's what's going to be. I mean, these guys need their rest. You saw it last year with Joey Bosa, huffing and puffing out there. You got to have these guys as fresh as they can. And yeah, sometimes you're weathered and you're tired. It's fourth quarter. It's 100 and something going on, and you got to keep playing. But that's where the depth comes in. I think the fact that we got Rumpf, and hopefully with Kyle Van Noy and Jamal Davis, they're going to give him some extra blows here, and these guys will come in and not have a huge drop off as well. I thought Nick Niemann looked really good at practice. He was really active as a linebacker. I thought, he's doing a really good job back there. By the way, we kind of forgot to even mention this as we went. Your safety, Derwin James, just signed the most expensive contract that a safety can sign, right? Over $76 million guaranteed, or $76 million in 4 years. I believe 42 of it is guaranteed. That's your guy, right? He lines up everywhere. Just make sure he's staying healthy, right? That's what we need because we had a few injuries here and there with him. Otherwise, Derwin is the best safety, arguably the best safety in the league. So he's ready to go. Nasir's there, great, all good stuff. And I'm liking Alohi like we mentioned before. So that's your 3 safeties right there. JT Woods, number 22. I'm having problems with JT Woods. So I saw him live. He looked pretty skinny to me. He's lanky. He's fast. But did you see the play with him and Leonard at the Rams this last week? It was just a foolish slapstick play where JT Woods is the safety on the and he comes in to try to wrap up the Rams receiver, I believe it was McCutcheon, who had that nice long catch, and he tackles Leonard, number 33, rather than the receiver, and the receiver breaks away for an extra 20, 30 yards and scores a touchdown on a broken play that way. That was bad. And you got to play better, JT Woods. And I know reading the training camp notes, seeing video, has not set himself up yet to be a contributor on this defense. I don't believe he has. Okay, and again, I'm very limited in my observation, so I could be 100% wrong on this, and I'm glad if I am. But seeing what I'm seeing right now and hearing what I'm hearing right now with the beat writer for the Chargers and the footage, he's not, and what the coaches are saying, he's not ready. I don't think he should be playing out there this year, quite honestly. If he's going to be a problem for them and not performing and not being in the right spot, don't play him this year. He's a third-round pick. Third-round picks usually play. Third-round picks are going to make the team. So you've got that. But this is a kind of situation where you might have to keep him for a year and just let him sit. Let him sit behind these safeties and let these guys take it. We already mentioned the names, right? Luckily, you have Alohi there for you as well. That could do a lot of the damage and take care of what's going on along with Derwin and Nasir. But that's some things to look at. I don't think he's ready. Along with Leonard, I was looking at Dean Leonard. He had a lot of problems in his Rams game. Here's the positives on Dean Leonard. Okay, he was there to make a play on the ball each time a long or a significant completion was happening against him. He was in the right position. However, the ball was being completed because he was not looking back at the ball. He would stay focused on the receiver and be in the right spot, but did not transition to going after the ball or looking back for the ball or having that trust in him that I've got the solid play on this one. Let me turn back and fight for the ball now. Instead of staring it down, getting a pass interference call by putting hands in the guy's face already and so forth. He also had that special team snafu where he tackled the punt returner before the ball hit him. So look, these guys are young guys. He's a 7th rounder, I believe. He's trying to make this team. The pressure's on. I wouldn't worry about it, buddy. You're gonna make this squad as a practice squad member. Okay, I really do think he's not ready. I don't think he's on the 53-man roster. Based on who we have, I don't think he's ready yet. Now, the only way they'll put him on the roster is the fact they'll say, look, we don't want to lose him on the practice squad. And they could, right? They could lose him there. If that's the case, he's going to be on the 53 because they don't want to lose a talent like this. But if I'm them, I'm going to be able to put him on a practice squad and let him learn for the year. That's what I'm doing. Because unfortunately, I can't do that with my 3rd-round pick. Because you put a 3rd-round pick on a practice squad, he's going to be taken. But you put a 7th-rounder in there that hasn't been, that has had problems so far, it might not go anywhere. So I like that. I didn't see Jasir Taylor yet. Didn't get a chance to see him in training camp either. He was being held out. He's 5'10", 185. Been hearing a lot of good things about him, however. So I do want to see how he's going to do. Mark Webb, I'm excited about to see him. He has some soft tissue injury along with Jasir recently. So they've kept him out and didn't play. So I do want to see what's going on with him. Hopefully this game we'll see some activity with him. So that'll be great. So you have a lot of safeties already set up. So again, like I said, I don't need to see JT this year. He can sit back and let him get situated for the 1 year until he's ready for next year. Just like Nasir Adderley, quite honestly, had that same situation. Didn't look good that first year and kept working with him and comes back much stronger. I'm fine with that. I think you need to have that 1 year as a red shirt and kind of get yourself ready to go for next year. I'm looking forward to seeing how our young Chargers will fare well against the Dallas Cowboys this Saturday night at 8 o'clock at SoFi Stadium, second preseason game. Like I said, it was nice to see that young defense play so well at training camp. We'll see what it looks like in this preseason game. We'll catch you again next week, and you can always find us and talk to us at extremevoltage_podcast on Instagram. Get a hold of us that way and let us know what you think. We'll catch you again next week. We'll debrief it once again. We're getting closer to that Week 1 season, September 11th against the Raiders. So we'll be talking a little more Charger football. At this time, I just want to acknowledge our man across the glass. That's Tyrell Mad Dog Wiggins. We appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for making us sound good. And I'd like to thank Kevin McLeod from filmmusic.io for Strength of the Titans and the Ice Giants. We'll catch you again next week. This is D. Melconian for Extreme Voltage.